Hey everyone, Connie here with a discussion video. This is going to be completely just me on screen talking, but I want to talk about this because I have not been able to continue since I watched episode 4 of Stranger Things, and it's been days now. And I want to explain why. So this video I'm going to be talking about major spoilers for the first 4 episodes of Stranger Things Season 4. So if you have not seen the first 4 episodes, just letting you know, there will be major spoilers. So, ever since I first saw that scene in episode 4, actually, hold on, let's do a spoiler warning just to be safe. Spoiler stuff will be getting in 3, 2, 1, now. So, ever since I saw that scene in episode 4, you know the one. The Max scene. The running up that hill scene. I have not been able to continue watching, and it's not a dislike of the season or of the scene or anything. It's actually the complete opposite. That scene was such a high that I almost don't want anything to ruin it. So I feel like if I keep watching, it'll it just won't live up to that. Let's talk about why that scene was so phenomenal to me. Max is a character who was introduced, I think, in season 3. It's been years since the last season, so I'm just trying to remember everything. But she was introduced later than all the other main characters. And we've kind of had to see her connect with everyone. And she did. She connected with Lucas, she connected with Elle, and it was great seeing her form these connections and these bonds and really become a member of the group. She started out as basically an outsider, this new addition, and we wondered, what's going to come of this? Will she integrate in as well as everyone else already is? Luckily, she did. And because of that, we grew to like her. We grew to connect with her. We grew to care about her, just like we did with other characters. Maybe not to the same level. And for me, definitely not to the same level. Like, I still liked characters like Dustin and Mike and Elle a lot more. And it's nothing against Max, but she just never reached the level of characters like them or Steve or Robin even for me. And Robin is a newer character too. And to be fair, the biggest reason I connected so hard with Robin is the queer part. That does it for me. It does. But in just the first 4 episodes of this season, Max went from just being a character that I liked, but didn't stand out that much, to being one of my favorite characters of this series. The depth of her traumatic response to her brother's death, even despite the fact that Billy was kind of a piece of shit, an abusive, horrible piece of shit, the fact that he was able to not completely make up for everything he had done, but at least turn himself around in the end with his sacrifice, that's, I think, what is doing it the most. She feels such intense guilt for the way she's acted and thought about her brother for so long, and seeing him have that moment of goodness, and having him gone the moment he is able to show that side of him, it left this traumatic reaction in her mind. I mean, just the fact that her brother died, I mean, that's traumatic in and of itself, but the way it happened. And so, it's something she hadn't been able to get out of. So, for the year that takes place between the ends of Season 3 and the beginning of Season 4, she's isolated herself. She's broken up with Lucas. She's become less of a member of the group, kind of becoming a loner and not really hanging out with them as much anymore. She's become also very, I wouldn't say straight up self-hating, but very negative towards herself for sure. She's not quite seeing her own value at this point. And so as everything starts to unfold with Vecna and the slasher-like murders and everything, she starts to see this stuff happening, and she realizes that she's next. And she doesn't want to die, of course, but she almost seems like, in a way, even if subconsciously, she accepts it. It almost feels like she accepts that this is just what's going to happen. And all of her friends, they're trying to pull her back from this defeatist attitude. They're trying to tell her, we're still here for you. We still care about you. We understand what you're going through. But she's not hearing it, to the point where she basically writes a suicide note. She writes multiple copies of the suicide note for her friends, for her mother, and she plans to give them out. She plans to get them circulated. And it's heartbreaking to see her this destroyed. And then we have the part in season 4. She goes to her brother's grave, gives him his own letter in a way, gets to speak to him, hoping that he's listening. And that's when Vecna gets his grip on her. And Dustin, Steve, Lucas, they're there. They're trying to snap her out of it, trying to help her. But it's not working. Luckily, Nancy and Robin respond to their calls for help at the right time and are able to tell them what they found out about music being able to help pull you out of Vecna's grasp, your favorite song. And so we find out that Max's favorite song is Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush, a song that I have very much heard before, but I did not hear it originally with the Kate Bush version. I heard it through the cover by Placebo, which is an amazing cover. It's a fantastic cover. But something about about Kate Bush's vocals resonates with me. And it took a couple listens to really do so, because at first the first time I'm watching it, I'm thinking like, this is really good, but I think I like Placebo's better. Just I think it has more power to it, more depth. But as I re-listened to the song over and over, watched that scene over and over, I started realizing it's like, no, this is perfect. Not only because of the time period, you definitely putting out the Kate Bush version was kind of a necessity, with how Stranger Things does its music, but also it just, her voice cuts through in the perfect way that sells the scene. And let's talk about the scene. So Vecna has Max in his grasp, and they put the tape in the player and hit play. While Vecna's beginning to take her over, beginning to kill her, essentially. Not even essentially, just blatantly. You hear the song start rolling, and it's just playing, and it's building up. And then you see Max rise. The moment Max rises up in the air in front of Billy's grave, like, we saw this in the trailer. And it was really cool in the trailer. It was really interesting in the trailer, but the context behind everything, the depth behind everything, made it, the music elevated it to a new level. And for a lot of people, myself included, this became one of the best scenes in the entire series. And for some people even say one of the best in cinema, in all of television or movies, or one of the best, period. And Sadie Sink's performance is part of the reason. This girl is so fucking talented for being so young. She was great in the Fear Street movie. She was in the second and third Fear Street movie. You should see those as well. If for nothing else, for her. She was amazing in them. And she's even better here. In just these first 4 episodes, but especially in episode 4 specifically, Sadie Sink owns this series. She is the star currently. And I like other characters, newer characters like Eddie. Of course, we have returning characters. But again, Sadie is stealing the show. Her performance during this, when you see her, you see the fear on her face when Vecna has her in her grasp. You see when she yanks the tendril off of the back of Vecna's neck and then runs, desperately running to get to her friends and everything. You see the desperation, the pure fear that she won't make it in her face. It's perfection. It's honestly perfection. And there's this thing about, like, okay, will Max still die? There's kind of been set up for it. I think not. I think that, one, they're not going to pull off, like, kind of leading you into thinking that once and then end up doing it later in the season. But also, I don't think there's that setups there anymore. The letters and everything at that point, it's like, that was part of her her trauma response. That was an in-depth look at her trauma that really won't make sense to try and bring it back as an excuse for killing her off again or anything. Because her entire arc in at least these first 4 episodes has been recovering from a traumatic experience, from the death of her brother. So, as of this 4th episode, we see her overcome it. It's a representation with all of this with Vecna. We see her overcome that trauma and finally accept her friend's help again. It's a very strong, important storyline that really just is nailed perfectly by the writing, the direction, the acting, everything. And it's important too, because a lot of people go through all kinds of trauma, but especially trauma losing loved ones. That this is going to connect with them. And I feel like a lot of people are going to get a lot from this story arc. And that's another reason why I think killing her off again now, like actually going through with it after this point, after already doing a fake out and making us believe that she could actually die, doing it at this point would be really bad. It would be a really bad move, honestly. It just wouldn't make sense, and it would just kind of, I wouldn't say it would feel disrespectful to the viewers, but more so, it would feel like they're not taking their own allegories and stories based on, again, what is clearly based around trauma and everything seriously. So, I don't see it happening. I really don't. But it was such a powerful scene. It was so utterly perfect. And with this season that had been so amazing up to that point, it just really nailed it for me that this is on the next level. That all this time we've had to wait since season 3 has been worth it. And I really think that if this is a sign of the rest of the season to come, and the final season, season 5, when that eventually comes out, I think we're in for one hell of a treat. But at the same time, like I said, I haven't been able to continue on to episode 5 since I watched episode 4, because I've been afraid that it won't live up to the hype. It just won't live up to how amazing, how phenomenal that scene was. And rewatching it multiple times on YouTube and stuff has just really solidified it for me as one of the best scenes in this series for sure. And definitely up there for scenes in general. Just on acting performance alone. But everything about it, again, the direction, the music, everything. Even just the timing. Like the timing of how of the song to when Max rises up and everything, and the timing of where the song's at when she's running to get back to her friends and everything, it just works so perfectly. Like they clearly built the scene around the song. And if you pay attention to the lyrics of the song, you can understand why. It's a great song too. Like, again, prior to this I had only really heard the placebo version. So it's like it's interesting to hear Kate Bush's version. I actually become more of a fan of that now. but it's like, it's such a powerful song with some great lyrics that if you really pay attention to, have a lot to say and really fit with Max. Really fit with Max and her story. So I'm excited to see where this is going to lead, but I wanted to make this video just talking about my thoughts on this scene and how impactful it is. Because with already the amount of attention and praise and love this scene has gotten, I would not be surprised if Sadie Sink wins awards for it. I would not be surprised if she gets all of these calls for roles because of that scene. And she deserves them. And the Duffer Brothers and everyone else who works on this show deserve all this credit and all this praise for how well that scene was done and how well this season has been so far. I'm really excited to see more. It's just, again, the little bit of concern in my mind. But yeah, I am excited nonetheless. So tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts on that scene in episode 4 of Stranger Things season 4? And like, who's your favorite new character? Just as a little fun little additional question here. Who's your favorite new character? Is it Eddie? Because for me, it's Eddie. Although I really do like that they got Robert Englund to play a character in this, considering this season is based off of Nightmare on Elm Street. It's really good that they got Robert Englund. That's just really fucking cool. And he's really good in it too, in his role. But Eddie is just like, he's just fantastic. He's just, that's my kind of character. But yeah, tell me your favorite new character. Tell me what you thought of this scene, and what you thought of Stranger Things season 4 so far. Obviously, no spoilers, because as I said, I've only seen up to to episode 4 so far, and just don't spoil it for anyone else either. No major plot things, if you can help it, especially towards the end of the first part of this season, because I'm sure many people other than myself too would like to remain spoiler free before the 2 movie-length final episodes drop in July. So yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in, and for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.